Welcome to the WLAQ Community Spotlight, where we highlight the wonderful organizations and people that make the Rome community a great place to call home. Here's today's host.
And hello, welcome into the first edition of WLAQ Community Spotlight for the year 2024. I'm Elizabeth Davis, and today our spotlight is on the Mission ISPossible Foundation, and we're joined by Grant Magness and Wendy Williams. And good to have you guys here today.
It's great to be here.
Absolutely great to be here in this warm, just summery, Caribbean weather we're enjoying.
Yes, joining us on a balmy.
Yes, balmy. That was the word. Yes,
yeah.
balmy. That was
balmy
the word.
day,
Balmy,
no doubt.
yes.
So you guys are a faith-based organization. I want to talk about the different aspects of what you do, but first of all, let's talk about how you got started.
Wow. Okay. How we got started. How long do you have, Elizabeth? How long do you have? You want me to take this, Wendy?
Go.
Ladies first. Okay. So the short version would be in 2005, after doing youth ministry locally here in the community, starting in about 1996, it was just as the Spirit would move. So, the Greek language is a much better language. It has multiple words to describe. Like we say in English, I love Wendy. I love my wife, Rachel. And that doesn't get Wade mad at me or Rachel mad at me. I love Big Macs. I love French fries. I love Schroeder's. I love Anna's. Keep going. Right? We have one word, right? And in Greek, they actually have multiple words. So time is another example. Like, what time is it, right? So when you think of meaningful times in your life, I will never forget the first time I smooched my wife, Rachel. It was March 25th. It was 1995. I could show you where if we were in a car. But it didn't have anything to do with the time on the watch. It was the right time, right? The fullness of time. So the Greek concept, like time on a watch is like chronos, chronograph, right? And then kairos is this idea of the fullness of time. So the short version I have is, after about 9 years in local ministry, mainly with young people, we really, in the fullness of time, in that kairos of time, the Lord kind of opened up a door to show us that although doing mission work overseas can be beneficial, it can be so empowering, and I'm not in any way or shape or form demeaning that, but just this kairos moment of realizing what enormous blessings that we had just as individuals, as families, as a faith community, and how much need there was, not across an ocean, but right across a street, right? Sometimes it's about, can you cross a sidewalk, right? And what would that look like to be able to do more local mission? And so in that context, and at a late night devotional all the way in Wilmington, North Carolina, actually, the idea that we should do more mission here was born. And the idea was, so it's not that mission should be impossible, mission is possible, right? Mm-hmm. And so out of that, again, out of that kairos moment, out of that fullness of time, the Lord led us to begin as part of a youth development program, a monthly outreach that we would call Mission ISPossible. So one Sunday a month, we go to early church, Sunday school, and then we'd have 60 young people breaking up into 4, 5, 6 work groups and just go out in the community and serve. There would be a youth who is in charge of it. My basic model of youth developmental ministry is youth-led, spirit-driven, mission-centered, kingdom-bound. That's the foundation that we build that on. So there would be a young person who was a senior in high school that was actually in charge of the entire program. I mean, we would be available as mentors and help, but they would actually help schedule. They'd find opportunities to serve. Again, break up into 4 to 5 work teams, and we'd go out and serve in the community. And that started, it was dreamt into being, breathed into being, prayed into being, revealed into being. Even in Labor Day 2005, the first actual day locally was February of 2006. And in one form or another, Mission ISPossible has been going on straightforward since February 2006. So
I'm just going to interject that my children were a part of that in that I have 3 sons, and so my older 2 were there when that all started, and then by the time my 3rd son came along, he got to be a youth director of that, and it's so interesting just how their lives have gone, and he's actually in Japan now.
Wow.
And he has met a family that has a child with special needs. And so all those things that he had done, because he ended up doing a lot with what's now Birthday Club and Shining Stars. He was a helper. And so he's able to speak in Japanese to this family with a child with special needs and tell about his, what had happened in his life. And it's just, I'm just thinking he's around the world and these things that happened when he was 17, I guess, the impact that they're having still. So I'm so glad that my children got to be a part of that, and that kind of drug me along. And they're gone, and I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see that somebody in your family is still representing with that organization.
Because in all places, at all times, mission is always possible. And if you'll take a second, folks, if you're listening to us, if you just take a second and let that sit on you a little bit. I remember I was baptized as a little United Methodist kid at Harmony Grove United Methodist. I was Methodist since 9 months where I was born, technically. I remember walking the aisle at 12. I felt the call of my heart. But there was really, in my late high school career, I was involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I remember going to Epworth by the Sea to a leadership retreat. And it was just something connected that weekend of realizing, everyone has an influence. FCA focuses on this idea that athletes are often looked up to at school. So can you realize that and can use that in a positive way? So that would be a specific FCA version, but way greater than that. Everyone has an influence. Everyone has the ability to impact someone and influence someone. And once you realize that, and it takes so little and can make such an amazing difference. I believe theologically, if we take what little we've been given in good faith and help give it to God, that God takes it and makes it something beautiful and great. And that's what's really been amazing to see that happen. Again, we could talk about Jonathan. There are so many examples of young people that I do really think that was formative for them to realize, again, mission is always possible. And it doesn't have to look like this. It doesn't have to look like this. Like Wendy talks about what we now call Birthday Club. In 2014, Mission is Possible started a transition period, a couple of years like Moses wandering in the desert. The Lord didn't leave us there for 40 years, so thank
goodness.
But from like 2014 to 2016, it was in a period of transition. In 2016, again, it's fullness of time. It's kairos. It's not rushing. It's not responsive. It's not reactionary. It's prayerful, intentional, with consideration. It was right for it to become its own foundation. So now Mission is Possible Foundation is now a 501c3. It exists under its own umbrella. We are not a church, but we absolutely are called to be a part of the church. Which exists in all time and all places, right? But just this great hope that was. And so when we think about things like Birthday Club, that's a parent respite day that goes back to 2009. That's something that existed when Mission is Possible was kind of a youth development program under a church umbrella. But because it was connected with Hot Shots, which my wife owns and is gracious enough to allow us to always use.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, that was able to continue. But I guess where I'm going with that is, if you look at MIP, sometimes you might think, wow, that's a great special needs organization. Well, we are a great special needs organization of sorts and of a specific calling. But the calling is much broader than that, because here's what's awesome. We partner with special needs kids and watch them make Mission possible. And that's the full circle. Okay, I can tell you what it is, and Wendy can tell you to be on a rental bus. Thank you, David Salmon, Cheryl Salmon. You're going out and caroling to people who are homebound and can't carol, and we've been able to do that. And right by our side are some of those same special kids and special families we serve. Right, so it's great to see Shining Stars, the cheer team with different abilities that we do. It's great to watch Birthday Club, and there's so many ministries and outreach going on with that. But the beautiful full circle is we empower families we serve who are families with special needs to also realize that they have an influence. They have an amazing impact, and it's awesome to watch them realize that and go forward with it. So.
Yeah. Let's talk more about the Shining Stars program, the cheerleading for children with special needs. Mm-hmm. You guys have taken these guys all the way. You've taken these kids all the way to the state competition.
It's pretty cool. And that was Pam Bridges, Coach Pam Bridges from Tryon High School. She put that together. But yeah, so that goes back to 2009. It's we were approached. Wendy, tell about Sandra. You started this. Wendy started this whole part of this. Go, Wendy. Tell about Sandra. Tell about those navigators.
There was a great group of people. It was a navigator team, and it was a few moms and a few educators. That
just a few loaves of bread and a few fish.
It was just, and I've just told this story to somebody else in another county that's wanting to do something like this, and I told her, I said, all it takes is, it only takes a spark. It just takes that group of people, and you just keep building those relationships and building those relationships. But so Sandra Humphreys and Kathy Harwell, I remember when we met with you, came and they wanted. We were already doing Birthday Club at the gym, and they knew about other special needs cheer teams. So Sandra's husband's a football coach, and she had a daughter, and she'd like for her to be a cheerleader.
Emmy Mouse, we call her Emmy Mouse.
Emmy,
and she calls me Hair.
Yeah. So, and so we just had that discussion, and somehow I became part of that, the least likely person ever to be
Well, you got
a
them in
cheer
the door.
coach.
You were the mediator. Well, here's
These
Grant.
are my friends.
Yes, here's Grant.
These are
He'll
my
say yes
friends.
to
Meet
anything.
each other.
Yeah. Here's Rachel, who's got to figure out how it's going to actually work,
Yeah.
right? And so you made that connection.
And that first year that we did, we had zero money really, basically, but they had some old uniforms that had been for the All-Stars. They were beautiful uniforms, and we just kept stretching and cinching in and all the things. And so then all of a sudden they all had uniforms. And remember at the beginning, we even went a couple of times to Gatlinburg overnight.
Yeah, for sure.
Craziness. And so yeah, it's been going. And what I love about, I was one of the helpers actually and I've kind of gotten to pull away from that. Thankfully, there's so many other people doing that. But I get to make those connections with the helpers, and we try, we always try to find the young people to be a part of that. And we have two coaches that have been, Amanda Hawk Williams has been with us since the beginning, and then Emily Tyler Thompson has come along, and it's crazy to look back. I mean, she's probably been with us 5 or 6 years at this point.
And they're both educators. Emily's an educator in the Rome City Schools. Coach
Yes.
Hawk. Amanda Williams is an educator in the Chattooga County Schools. They're both collegiate champion level cheerleaders, which is fantastic. So,
and they do this on Friday afternoon after they've taught all week. I don't know anyway, that in itself. But so to have such fine women that are involved with that.
And if you don't know about it, I should have done this as a better lead-in. The Shining Stars is a special need. It's a team for athletes with different abilities. It's done in partnership with Hot Shots. Hot Shots has been sponsoring and allowing that to happen since 2009. Now as a foundation, Mission ISPossible is able to strategically kind of partner with Hot Shots so to help with fundraising, things like that, so that can be extended. Like a local restaurant says, hey, it's cheerleading night here, come and we'll give 10% of what we raised to your thing. People are like, oh, that's great, that's so generous. Well, I mean, Rachel with Hot Shots for decades it wasn't 10%, it was 100%, right? So that's very difficult for a business to absorb that level of cost, right? So the foundation can also assist with that. And even more than that, to help let people know, do you believe in this? Do you want to be a part of this? Do you want to support this? Absolutely. And it's a beautiful joy to get to see that. So, but the Shining Stars program, it starts in July with a cheer camp. They learn a real cheer routine. They have a real cheer camp. They get a real cheerleading uniform to real cheerleading music. They practice every Friday afternoon throughout the fall. The first performance is they're the headliners for cheerleading night at the Coosa Valley Fair. And the Exchange Club has been so gracious and amazing. I remember Rhonda Wallace was leading that for years. She was so encouraging about having the Shining Stars there. I know that I want to say Sam Evans were very much leaders in having them actually build a handicap accessible ramp at the fairgrounds for the Shining Stars. And that was no small cause to do that, but just welcome, right, and encouragement. And that's just been amazing to be embraced like that by the community. John Bailey had done an article a few years ago on the Shining Stars at camp and referred to them as the cheerleaders of the community, which I think that's the great goal. We have a Rock and Cheer pep rally, which Hot Shot sponsors right before region competition for all the middle and high schools that we've finally been able to bring back to the forum. Thank you, Jay, and all the folks at the forum. And so excited to get to do that. And then, so Pam Bridges, who was the head coach for years, the 5-time Georgia High School State Cheerleading Championship coach from Tryon High School, who is a wonderful woman of teaching, of coaching, of faith, of love, of all the things. And she would always bring her athletes down to volunteer for Shining Stars Camp. Sam Mendentz, who is one of her former athletes and is the model high school cheer coach, now brings her kids. It only takes a spark to keep a fire going, right? And they
also raise so much
they
money
raise money
for
to help
us.
support us. It's beautiful. But Pam actually, from seeing us be involved in the community, reached out to the head of Georgia High School Cheerleading and said, hey, I think you need to get these guys down there. So, yes, now for the last 5-6 years, the culmination of our season, instead of going to Gatlinburg, we go down to Macon and get to perform at the Georgia High School State Cheerleading Championship. We're the official exhibition team. And I probably don't have time for the really cool story that I shared about the donor, but
you should share that story.
Well, darn, I got to share
it on the radio with us recently.
I got to share it because I believe in God's grace. We are a grace-based foundation because but for grace, where would we any of us be, right? And I need God's grace. And the way God's grace gets in your life is confession, repentance, atonement. Lord, I did it. I didn't mean to do it. And Lord, how can I make it right? So this is a classic story of that. So, by the end of the season, it's stressful. It is stressful with Shining Stars, right? It's stressful with all of our teams. I'm very, I do work with Rachel and I'm a coach at the gym as well. And, we want our teams to look well. And the middle and high school coaches that bring their teams to us want those teams to look well. And the all-star moms and dads who, train hot shots want those teams to look well. And it's just part of being a successful coach that you got to do that. And so I've got a high expectation of our Shining Stars too. And it's the Friday before state. It's like 27 kids. We only had 19 kids on the team, but I think 27 kids had the flu that day, right? Somebody couldn't come. Some kids, instead of doing their stunt, they're crawling up underneath the spring floor and hiding. I'm like, Lord, are we ever going to make it? And tomorrow we're going to be at the state cheerleading. I mean, that's a huge, talking thousands of people throughout the entire state of Georgia. Like, Lord, be with us, right? So, we get down there, and I made an executive decision because I don't run the board. I work for the foundation, but I'm not in charge of the foundation. That would be Jesus. But I made the executive decision to go to High Tech and buy a sign that would have a QR code on it that was about 2 feet by 2 feet, a large sign. And thank you, Jeff Hulsey, who's Jeff and Jerry, my Winder Barra connections that also do sound at Georgia High School State. We got permission to be able, when the coaches were going to set up all the placemats so the kids know where to go on the floor, I was able to walk out with a Shining Stars sign that had a QR code on it big enough that folks from their seats could pull their phone out and zoom in on it, and they could find out about the program, okay? Mm-hmm. Who are we? Where do we come from? What do we do? Obviously, if you want to make a donation, that's fine too, but it's not just like straight to, hey, give us money. It's just information on the team, right? Every year we get asked questions, and it's it's like, I'm in charge of these 20 kids, and we got to go on the stage in 5 minutes. We can't really talk, right? So all that to say, I get up there, they give us permission to do that. So while the coaches are setting up, Jeff, being fantastic, gets on the mic and says, hey guys, Grant from Shining Stars is going to come out. Y'all get your phones out, scan this code so you can find out about this program. And I thought it was a success. So we did that. It cost $46 for the sign, and 2 people made a donation of $25. So we paid for the sign. So I wasn't in charge, I was not in trouble by my board. That $46 that, actually technically I probably used Rachel's card from Hot Shot. So I wasn't in trouble with my board or with my wife to get that sign worked out, okay? And it was great, right? So I get a phone call a couple of days later, and it was a number from Adairsville, and I knew I'd submitted the write-up from Shining Stars for the Rome News, and I'm thinking, maybe that's a Rome News person calling for follow-up. So I pick up the phone, this gentleman starts talking, and about 30 seconds in, I realized this is not a reporter. This is just some dad, and his daughter cheers for Adairsville High School, and they were down at the Georgia High School State Championship, and he'd seen our kids, and he scanned the little code, took him the information, and he said, this was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Like, these there are kids on this team, they are blind. Mm-hmm. But they learn how to see. They are deaf, but they learn how, it really is. We have kids in wheelchairs.
Almost like
right?
Scripture.
It really, parables come to life. That's why they're parabolic, right? They come to life. And so he said, not only was it just fantastic to see these young people with such different abilities take the same floor of all the most perfect, beautiful, talented kids in the entire state of Georgia, and the music hits, and they're as on as any program, and it was inspiring and just transformational. He said, but not only that, to sit there and watch those helpers, some of them as young as 10 years old, all the way up to those of us who are more senior in age, but to watch those helpers assist those kids, the compassion, the intention, just the heart of service that I saw connect between those helpers and those kids. He said, that is the most beautiful thing I saw all day. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I would like to support this organization. Is there a way I can make a donation? And do y'all ever have matching options to do? I said, well, actually, Giving Tuesday is coming up in a couple of weeks, and we have a very generous donor that matches the first $15,000 that we raise. So that will be an opportunity to have your donation match if you'd like to. He said, sure, let me know. Now, look, it was a great conversation. He's a super nice guy, but people call all the time. That might mean I'll send you a gift card for Little Caesars for $5. So that's fine, too. We take
like
all
those.
donations. We it ain't about first church, it's last church. Okay, the last shall be first, right? But again, so we go on, and it was Giving Tuesday, and we always set our goal. Ever since we've had a donor that says, I'll match 15, we set our goal at $15,000. And a lot of our individual volunteers sponsor their own Facebook giving page on that day. I do one on my page. And we've done really well. Last year we raised like $37,000, which are a very small local organic foundation. That was impressive, right? So But it was the algorithms were different, and Facebook wasn't sharing stuff. And so we get through the end of Giving Tuesday, and we're like 75% of our goal. And that's okay, but I'm not a 75% person. If my goal is 100, I like to hit 110. I'm sorry. I'm just confessing it's part of how I'm built. So it's the next morning, and I'm actually texting with some of our board members saying, sorry, guys, I came up a little short. We'll do better next time. Not that it wouldn't be great. I mean, with the matching, we're still going to raise about $20,000, but our goal was higher. So I get all of a sudden I get a email update on my phone, and it's from the Mission ISPossible Gmail account. I open it up, takes me straight to our fundraiser. We've gone from 75% to 110%. How did this happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happened. The same gentleman that had reached out from seeing those shining stars at state and watching those helpers just share love like they did, had gone online and made a $5,000 donation to our foundation. We've never met him, never seen him. He has no relational connection, nothing but absolute gratitude, graciousness, agape style love that he chose to share. I pick up the phone and call him. I'm like, sir, blown away. We've never met. And this is just so generous. Because again, if you run a small nonprofit, any of you guys are watching, it is very rare that people call you on the phone and say, hey, I want to do something, and it's $5,000, right? Which, by the way, became 10 with the match. So, and he said, he said, I'm sorry I didn't do it yesterday. He's apologizing. No, please don't apologize. Sorry I didn't do it yesterday. I got tied up. I hope the donor will still match. Not only did the donor still match the 15, it had gone up to 16,500. The donor agreed to match all 16,500 because he was so inspired by the story. But he the guy that had called me on the phone that did the $5,000 said, you guys are doing good in the world, and we need more people doing good like this in the world. Keep doing good in the world, and I was glad to help. So it's just magic, right? It was absolutely magic.
Awesome.
And that continued, and by the end of we raised about $42,000 on Giving Tuesday.
That's impressive.
So let your light shine as the shining stars cheer, and it's beautiful. And again, it's not about money. If money could have saved us, God would have sent money. It's not about a book. If a book would have saved us, God would have sent the Torah. You already got it. It ain't about a building saving us. God would have said you already got a temple. There's this. You asked if we're grace-based. We are. We're in this space, and it's about love. It's about relational, connectional love. That's what we see in the person of Jesus, and we believe that. We believe that is as true how we should live as is the fact if I drop this phone, it'll fall down. It'll never fall up. Right. The same truth of gravity. Right. It'll fall down at a rate of 9.8 meters per second squared because that's how the truth of the world was made. And that same truth, if we want to know what that looks like in a person, you look at Jesus and you try to breathe that in and breathe that back out, and that saves the world. Anyway, that's my short version of my grace base. But it was beautiful and fantastic. And then again, I'm like, man, Grant, you were being worried. My light wasn't shining bright. I was worried we weren't going to do as well as the shining stars. They were. Those kids, the music starts, within 2 seconds, everyone in the Macon Centralplex is on their feet. They don't sit back down. It's a standing ovation, and just it's hard to say this without sounding patronizing because I'm not being patronizing. I know this. Every parent loves to see their children celebrated. I'm a parent, and I love seeing my children celebrated. There is no normal child. Normal is a setting on a dryer. That is the great Kara Moore. But I do understand that for kids with different abilities, sometimes that can be a more rare or unusual occasion, and it shouldn't be. And part of what we do as missional outreach in regard to the special needs community that we work with is to help break that down through true inclusion, right? Like that's when the kids come to the hot shots, it's not the gym that was built for special needs kids. They come to the same gym that every other abnormal kid, because normal is set on dry. All the kids come to, right? It's true inclusion, and that's the great spirit and the great hope of what's going on. I'm sorry, I'm getting in circles, and I need to bring it back to the known world. But I'm just saying there it is to watch the faces of children, to watch the faces of parents, truly see. You can say, oh, different abilities, whatever, but to truly see those young people and those helpers celebrated and affirmed. And I can tell you this, the cheers for them when they come off the floor, I've been there when I've at least Rachel and I've helped 6 Georgia High School state champion teams win it. And I'm telling you, the cheering is no louder when your team wins state than when those kids start the floor, take the floor. And that's beautiful. It's magic to make that happen. So thank goodness.
And I think it might have started out when they were watching the children thinking, oh, those poor little children, but it is instantaneous that they are going, look at those athletes.
Yeah, rock stars, that's
look
exactly
what
right.
they are doing.
That's
look at
exactly
those
right.
smiles. Listen to those
exactly
cheers. And so, yeah, it changes their whole changes the whole perspective of everybody that's in there that might by that time be a little bored from watching this, watching perfection.
That is true.
You know.
It is a little different. Yeah, we bring a little different,
Yeah,
different
yeah.
spin to it.
So we have just a couple of minutes left, and I do have a couple of other questions for you. First of all, we talked about donations, and I'm sure that you would welcome them from anybody who might be watching today and want to contribute.
Okay, so the greatest gift you can give is the gift of your honest self. Fred Rogers said that, not me, but I truly believe it. So our invitation is always, come give you. Come be a part of you. Come to a birthday club. Our next birthday club's in February. You can go to Facebook, @BelieveInMIP. You'll get the dates for the next 4 months. Here's the deal. You come the first day, all I want you to do is watch. We're going to do, and just watch. I'll give you a door to stand in front of to make sure a kid doesn't escape. That's fine. You'll be doing something more. But just, again, it doesn't take any great heroics. Come, be present, be a part of it. It can go from there. That's always our first response to giving. Give the gift of you when you can, all right? MissionIsPossible.net. If you type on that, it's going to say donate. And the only reason we're here, there's the word nonprofit, and that's a fine word. But truly, nonprofits are for the profit of all. That's the difference. That's the structural economic difference. If you own your own business, at the end of the day, that business can bring profit to the owner. That's fine. Work hard. Do a great job. There's some fantastic businesses in this community that are generous and wonderful. They create awesome opportunities. I'm married to a woman that owns one of those. But the idea with the nonprofit is it truly is not for the profit of any owner, not for the profit or benefit of any one individual.
Right.
It is for the profit of all that are involved. And so fundraising, I'm not good at that. And people think that's weird because I can talk to a wall, and I can talk to a wall, but I can't stand. If anyone ever thinks I have an ulterior motive about what we're doing together, I'd rather not even talk. Authenticity is huge for me and always has been as well as race. But I did learn, I heard someone say one time, asking someone for a donation is not begging for money. It is giving someone the opportunity to be involved in something greater than themselves.
Right.
Very well stated.
And I didn't make it up, but this woman said that, who was a really great fundraiser. And when you think about it, and I'll go first. I mean, where do I spend 99% of my money? It's on me directly, my wife, my children, my biological project. Okay. So for people, the opportunity to reach out and to go beyond yourself and your lineage like that is that's not easy to do, but it's a beautiful thing to do, and it's the only reason that we can do this, right? So if you love Chick-fil-A, buy Chick-fil-A sandwiches because they're a great organization, and I'm glad they're here, right? If you hear us come on with you like this, and you guys are so generous to allow us to be here and share this space,
Thank you.
But if you go, hey, I believe in what I'm seeing, and there should be more of this in the world. I stole that from our chair of our board. I love what I'm seeing, and I believe I want to see more of it in the world. Then this easy respond. MissionIsPossible.net. Hit donate. You can do it. So,
Awesome.
I've got a funny joke, like Facebook or social media. Like means I saw it. Love means I read it. And maybe donating means I love it. So there we go.
Yeah. And then I want to talk about a couple of other things that you've done because you guys, in addition to your program, your cheerleading program for special needs, the Shining Stars, you've actually helped some special needs families with handicap accessible vans. I think that's really neat that you just saw that there was a need, you had the resources, and you provided.
We just got to be the ones that gave those, and we found out who those people were. But there's a donor that actually realized that was a need, and it was within his ability to gather those. And so, yes, we have been able to. I had the last one that we gave, the teacher,
Which was the week of Giving Tuesday. How about cool?
Yeah.
We had people giving us donating,
Right.
and then we were able to give that same week.
the teacher wrote me the first day of school and told me that child arrived. I'm gonna cry. Arrived in the van, with the nurse, and she said, "You have let him out of prison." Because he literally could not go anywhere that the bus did not take, the school bus, so he could go to school. And there were lots of other places he needed to go. He needed to be able to go to Atlanta. But she said, "You have let him out of prison." And I think that's biblical too.
It's very biblical. And that model, and that's the MIP model, this donor. What blessings, giftings do you have? He buys a bunch of cars. He's got folks out there buying cars, and he can say, "Hey, if you see a handicapped van come across, check it out. If it looks good, let's bring it in the shop, make sure it's ready. Where is there a need?" He'll call us on the phone. "Hey, we got a van. Do you know a family?" "Absolutely." And then you just make it flow. That's just God's grace flowing, right? It's call. It's realizing, again, we all have an influence. It's this a donor who realizes, I sell cars. Man, I can have an incredible influence right through this. Where is there a need? That's kind of our partnership, and we have a great relationship of trust, and he knows that we'll make sure it goes to a good place, and then we just let love flow through that, which is beautiful.
And it's neat to see all these partnerships that you've developed with the community and all the different volunteers.
It's important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Because connection is everything when it comes to pretty much anything you do.
We're about relationship. And if you don't lean into that, then somebody can fall through the cracks.
Yes.
Somebody cannot be somewhere for several months and they feel forgotten. And we are about relationship, and we do try to keep up with our flock.
See, you see me, I'm getting a little bit emotional to hear you say that, because I think that's so sweet that you're attentive to the emotional needs of people, not just... it's so
and they're attentive to our
all-encompassing.
emotional needs too.
Mm-hmm.
Those children, they know. The parents realize, hey, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
We ask that of each other a lot. How is it with your soul?
How is it with your soul? She's stealing from John Wesley.
John
over here.
Wesley.
She's stealing from Wesley. I'm sorry.
But
We're
we just,
Wesleyans.
are you okay? No, are you really okay?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Wow.
And even that, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get. There's no pulpit here. I'm not gonna. But just that, like, I'm so blessed. I have a wife who loves me. I have children who love me. I have family who loves me. I have family I was born into and family that have brought me into them that love me. I don't think that everybody has 27. Don't think that everybody goes through every single day with people, at least 1%. How are you doing? Not the way we do it as Southerners. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Look, how are you doing? Right. So that's the gift of it. And that sometimes when people say, well, what does MIP do? I can talk about programs, but just like I said, if a program could have saved us, the Lord would have sent another 12-step. And there's nothing wrong with 12-step programs. Right? But again, it's going into that relational opportunity, and that's just what a blessing that is. Last night I was running to Kroger. One of our moms, her son's on our Shining Stars team, and she and her husband are very involved with MIP. Their kids come to birthday club, but she pulls orders at Kroger. That's what she does, right? And I mean, she's not very tall. She's maybe 5'2", 5'3",
Maybe.
or whatever. But the cart was, I think, 10 feet tall. Like she almost needed to be able to dunk a basketball, go get there. And I walk in and I'm seeing her. Of course, we start and get to cut up. She's like, I got here today and there was 114 orders I had to pull. And I'm like, is that a lot? She's like, is that anyway? But I know that's silly and ridiculous, but just to have. It's so easy in our culture to just be so insulated, right? Mm-hmm. Who do you talk to? I talk to my neighbors. Where do you live? Probably in a place where people look a lot like you and make about the same that you. That thing, right? That can be so isolating and insulating, and it's just such the beautifulness, the relationalness that we get to enjoy as a foundation. The reason that in 2005 we as a ministry realized it's that service component. It's that eye-to-eye, face-to-face, in-fleshness. That would be a biblical word to talk about. Incarnationalness. That creates those opportunities for us to be in service, and not even just with, right?
Absolutely.
The with, right? There's a guy named David Wells. He's an Anglican priest, but he said the most important word in all of Christian theology is probably the word with, withness. I can get into a manual. We just celebrated that, but to be with, because here's the challenge to a service. Oh, let me do this to you. Let me do this for you. No,
Yeah, we're not bringing Jesus anywhere.
No.
He's there.
He's there.
And thank goodness we just get to go be a part of it.
He's
because
there.
we certainly don't think we're bringing anything. We're just getting to be with Jesus and his children.
And the proof is you're being so complimentary, saying, oh, it's amazing how y'all formed all these. Look, it would be amazing if I could tell you, I put that all down on the calendar and said on Monday I'll do this one. It's not that at all. It's living in grace. It's breathing in God's grace and breathing God's grace out. And that's why we call it amazing.
The moral of the story is look what God can do.
Amen.
Yes.
So we're rapidly running out of time. We got about a minute or two left. Any parting thoughts that you'd like to give our viewers?
Ladies first.
I guess I've been thinking about kind of my why, because some people aren't, like, why do you do this? I mean, it's almost like it's weird or something. And I did a Bible study one time, and the title of it was The Least, the Last, the Lost. And the more I'm in the world, I realize that's everybody, and that's me. We're all a part of that, and that's what we're called. That's who we're called to minister to, the least, the last, the lost, and to allow those people to minister to us. So I think that's my why.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good one.
Well, and for me, just anytime, thank you guys for all y'all do, for the generosity y'all extend, and not just to Mission ISPossible, to all the nonprofits in this community. I think we're part of a great community of great collaboration and encouragement, and it's just great to get to be here. So thank you. When I say, I don't like to use the word donors, because some people can write a big check. That is beautiful, and if you didn't, we probably couldn't be sitting here. Some people can show up one Sunday a month at Birthday Club to be there to make it happen. And there's no gradation of that, okay? So what I want to say is the times, talents, gifts, and service that we have missioners, we call them missioners, not volunteers. Missionaries are the ones that go over there. Missioners are right here. But to people who are missioners through our foundation, whether it's a missionary by way of donor, a missionary by way of volunteer, helper, all these things, thank you. Thank you for what you do. If you didn't do it, we wouldn't be here. And at the end of the day, believing that in all places at all times, mission is always possible, one heart out, one hand up at a time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you.
being in the community. And thank you for your time this afternoon.
Great to be here.
And again, you've been listening to or watching another edition of the WLAQ Community Spotlight. Our spotlight this week has been on the Mission Is Possible Foundation, and the guests have been Grant Magness and Wendy Williams. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
And with that, we got to wrap it up. I'm Elizabeth Davis. Y'all stay safe and warm today.
This has been the WLAQ Community Spotlight. We thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the WLAQ Radio YouTube channel and follow WLAQ Rome on Facebook.